What's going on, guys? Welcome back to WWE Network and Show, where I, Graham G.S. Matthews, break down all the original content they watch on the WWE Network and on Peacock. And today we're talking the January 22nd, 2022 edition of Talking Smack. As always, being hosted by Jackie Redmond, Matt Camp. Jerry Lawler was the special guest on the show, adding his pointless analysis to everything they asked him about regarding the show and the Rumble and whatever. So to start off the episode, they recapped the main event. They saw Seth Rollins and Kevin Owens knock off the Usos, with the stipulation being, it was by disqualification, by the way, that they won the match, but the stipulation stated that if Usos had lost, then they would be barred from ringside for Rollins versus Roman at the Royal Rumble. Jerry Lawler says that Roman is a guy that likes to get the last word in. That's why he came in. I mean, also, he got in there because he wanted to prevent the Usos from losing by pinfall, but whatever. Because they also accepted the challenge on their own behalf as opposed to Roman. So anyway, back to Lawler. He says that he doesn't need the Usos at ringside, does Roman Reigns, saying that he's been champion for so long because he's won so many matches without the Usos. And then Matt Camp correctly points out that Roman has a god complex, but not only that, he has used the Usos before. I mean, Jerry's like, oh, how many matches has he won without the Usos? I mean, he's right. I mean, he did beat people like Big E, he beat Cesaro, he beat a number of people without the Usos. But he's also won a fair amount of matches with interference as well, including at WrestleMania last year, 37, when he beat Edge and Bryan. He won that with interference. He beat Kevin Owens every fucking time with interference from Jey Uso. He beat Brock Lesnar even with interference from the Usos. I don't know, maybe Balor as well. I feel like he beat the Demon with interference from the Usos at Extreme Rules. So it's not like it's completely far-fetched for Roman to win with interference. But Redmond calls it an advantage for Rollins nonetheless to not have the Usos at ringside for the match. They then recap Kofi Kingston versus Madcap Moss, with Kofi getting his win back from last week. We hear backstage from the New Day, Kofi and Big E was on the show this week. I mentioned that in my SmackDown review. Kofi said that he called Big E because he knew Corbin and Moss would be up to no good this week on SmackDown. And Big E just kind of started rambling for about 30 seconds about how he doesn't abide by what Corbin does or whatever the fuck. And they hype up next week's tag team match where they're going to be facing Corbin and Moss in tag team action. Brand split be damned, despite the fact that Big E is a member of the Monday Night Raw roster. Back in the studio, they replay the In Zayn segment with Sami Zayn and Johnny Knoxville, which I just didn't find to be very good. I like Sami, I even like Knoxville, but I thought the segment was stupid. We hear backstage from Sami Zayn with Kayla Braxton, and he tells her to stop smiling multiple times and to stop relishing in his pain after being electrocuted by Johnny Knoxville on SmackDown. He said he doesn't need to prepare for the Rumble. He doesn't need to prepare for Johnny Knoxville. He can't wait to be back on SmackDown the next week after he wins the Rumble, and laughs in Kayla's face. He also says that Shinsuke Nakamura is ducking him, considering he won the Intercontinental Championship number one contenders match about a month ago, and he has yet to get his title shot. They then replay the Charlotte Flair versus Naomi match where Naomi got screwed. Charlotte Flair won thanks to Sonya Deville. Matt Camp says the fix is in, and they again question why Deville has it out for Naomi. So at least the WWE people are pointing that out and acknowledging that Sonya has no reason for going after Naomi, but I feel like they're pointing it out because they also, the company themselves, do not know why Sonya Deville has it out for Naomi, and they probably won't even bother to explain it because it's WWE. Lawler says that feud's about to come to a head next week when Sonya and Naomi go one-on-one. He believes Deville has the advantage, being the authority figure, but Naomi is his pick to win, assuming the match even happens. Lawler then throws out a number of names he thinks could win the men's Rumble, from AJ Styles, which was very random. He wasn't even on Raw this week. And then you can't even take the guy seriously after he says, oh, Johnny Knoxville. It's like, bro, Johnny Knoxville ain't winning the fucking Rumble. But he throws out Styles, then Knoxville, then Owens, after a strong performance on SmackDown, on Friday. Matt Camp also points out that it's been 10 years to the day, same city in all, St. Louis, since Sheamus won a Royal Rumble match. They then recap Ricochet versus Sheamus. That saw Sheamus pick up the victory for the second straight week in clean fashion, I believe. And, he mentions how Sheamus is the only one in the Rumble match so far that's been declared that has won a Rumble before. Orton will probably end up being in it, along with Riddle, I would have to imagine, maybe Alpha Academy. And Orton has won, obviously, two before. If Orton's not in it, which I'd be shocked because they're going to be in St. Louis, so why wouldn't he be? Sheamus would be the only former Rumble winner in the match. That would make sense. So I don't think he's going to win, but Camp does point out that Sheamus isn't one to be underestimated. He's been to the Final Four in the Rumble 4 times before. 2012 when he won the whole thing. 2013, I just watched the other day, he was in the Final Four with, I forgot who the fourth guy was, but he was in there with John Cena and Ryback. Maybe it was Randy Orton. I know that he was in there as well. He was in the Final Four in 2014 as well, third straight year, with, I think it was Batista and Roman Reigns. Forgot who the fourth guy was, but he was in the Final Three that year as well. And then again in 2016, again, forget what the Final Four was exactly. I think Dolph was in there. Dolph, Triple H, Dean, and Sheamus, I think. Did I say Roman? No, it was Dean, Sheamus, Roman, and Triple H, I think, were the Final Four. I think that's the Final Four that Santino, I just saw some news item on him, Santino, Matt Camp was referring to, as far as, him being in the Final Four the last couple of times. Not recently, but years ago. And he also emphasizes that Sheamus is a different guy now. He's improved a lot. He's on a roll right now, so he is want to be taken seriously going into the Rumble this year. And he could have the most eliminations, if nothing else, for this year's Rumble. We hear from Bischoff real quickly. Bischoff made a quick cameo on SmackDown this week. Not as big of a role as he had on Raw last month. But we hear from him making his Talking Smack debut. He was on Raw Talk a few weeks ago, and he was on Talking Smack here. He says it's always great being on SmackDown, stopping by, flying back home, as opposed to working there as a fucking executive director of creative. I'm sure he doesn't miss that job, although he didn't have it for too long, so how can you really miss it if you never really had it? But cool to hear from Bischoff here. He does say that Roman has something to prove at the Rumble in the match with Rollins, and he acknowledges his record-setting reign, and he's held it for so long now that it's basically his championship. It's become personal, and as a result, he's become a lot more dangerous. And that was it from Bischoff. And then to close out the show, Jackie and Matt bring up the Raw weigh-in coming up this Monday between Bobby Lashley and Brock Lesnar. We'll hear more about that on Raw Talk this coming week. So that was Talking Smack in a nutshell. Cool cameo from Eric here. Didn't really say anything of note, but cool to hear from him. Sammy was entertaining. And then we also heard from New Day. So a bit of a better edition of Talking Smack than usual. Not noteworthy or newsworthy at all. Far from eventful. But we got to hear briefly from Eric, a New Day reunion we got, and Sammy was entertaining while his interview lasted. So decent edition of Talking Smack this week for January 22nd, 2022. And as I mentioned yesterday in my SmackDown review, the Rumble this year is on a Saturday. They probably will do a Talking Smack on the Saturday of the Rumble. I don't know if I'd have the review up that day. It would be outdated if I put it up on Sunday, but fuck it, I'll probably do it anyway. So I might watch it Saturday, review it that day, and put it up on Sunday. If not, just watch it Sunday and review it that day. I don't know. Because we might be talking about stuff on Talking Smack that has nothing to do with the Rumble. I'm not exactly sure. But I'll probably put that up next Sunday, regardless of the Rumble being that Saturday, regardless of whether, no matter how outdated it actually ends up being. So anyway, guys, thank you for checking out this review. I appreciate it. Have an awesome rest of your week. I'm Graham Giason Matthews, or weekend rather, and I'll catch your ass down the road.